guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're just going to be playing with some watercolors and some stencils. So you can see I've got a couple palettes of watercolor and a big fat watercolor brush. And I'm going to start with just applying my watercolors to my background. I'm using a Jane Davenport collection, and I made sure to put a piece of wax paper behind my book page. I am actually in a book called a Psalter. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, that just basically means it is a journaling Bible that is made in an interleaved style, but just contains the Psalms. It's made by Crossway. I'll see if I can find, I've had this one for a while. I'll see if I can find a link for it. But I just applied some purples and some blues to my background, and while it was still wet, just did some little flecks to give it just a little more dimension and a little bit more fun. Because our main goal is just to make just a really pretty background, and then we're going to play with some stencils with a new technique that I was kind of playing with that I like. So I've got my background kind of done the way I want it, and then I'm going to hit it with a heat gun just for a quick moment to get it all dry. While I'm drying that, I'm going to read the scripture we're using for today. Like I said, we're in the Psalms, Psalm 78, verse 39. And that scripture says, "He remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passes and comes not again." And I kind of wanted to use that because I wanted to use this stencil right here that has a moth. And moths in the Bible represent fragility or fragileness. And what I'm doing is I'm actually taking a damp, actually magic eraser, like a little piece of it, and using a little bit of water, not heavy, just very, very damp or very, very lightly damp magic eraser, and you can see by dabbing it through that stencil, it's lifting that watercolor, and you just get a really pretty, really subtle image to your background. Now, if I wanted to, I could go back in and highlight them and make them bolder, but I really liked how the watercolor and the subtleness of the moths kind of went with this idea of being fragile, and that even in our fragileness that God understands that we are just flesh and offers grace and forgiveness. And so that's kind of where the idea for this page came from. I wanted to keep everything very soft, very light. I also had this not floral, it's not flowers, Carrie. This leaf stencil from the Crafters Workshop. The other one actually is also from the Crafters Workshop, and I'll make sure to leave links to that below so you guys can check those out if you like those stencils. There is a coupon code down there as well if you order using a coupon code that is down there. Because hey, every little bit helps, right? And now I'm just taking some, I guess it'd be considered light silver. Oh, what is it called? It's just called silver, but it's a really pale silver. And I'm really just doing this just to add some shimmer and to add some texture, and just kind of keep with that idea of fragileness and that kind of thing. And so I'm just using a makeup sponge, and like I said, that silver paint, and just adding some texture to my background. I like how it stayed super shiny. Sometimes, maybe it's just me, just because it says metallic, it doesn't actually show metallic, particularly in pictures. So this one actually stayed really metallic, so I was super excited about that. And it's actually the really cheap stuff. It's Anita's All Perfect Metallic Craft Paint. Um, so I thought that was kind of cool. And to just add a little bit of color to the other side, I'm just taking that same silver and that makeup sponge and just kind of painting over that other side, just so it wasn't stark white against kind of my shimmery and pastel other side. And now I'm going in with a mechanical pencil. I'm not trying to fully outline my images. I just wanted to give them just a little bit more depth, and make them just a little bit more noticeable. And so I'm just doing a light line around each of them just to kind of just give them a little bit more pop. Like I said, I'm not trying to fully outline them or make them cartoony or anything like that. Just adding just almost like a shadow around it with just a thin line. Just does a lot for making it pop a little bit more and just adding some dimension and some texture to my entire project. Obviously, make sure that your paint is completely dry before you do this because the pencil wouldn't write on it and it would get all gross and stuff. So just keep that in mind if you need to hit it with your heat gun before you move to this next step. And now I pulled out these. I'm trying to find the brand. They are from. I don't know if that's the name of the brand or not. Oh, it is. They're from a brand called Manuscript, and they're called Flexi Callicreative. So they're meant to be kind of like a a calligraphy pen, but super flexible. I'm not crazy competent with them, but they're fun and they give really cool details. And it has kind of a point and then the chiseled tip, so you can just get just some different dimensions and some different textures. So of course, I always practice out those titles first before with a pencil before I go in and try to add things. One thing I did not account for, and it happens sometimes, is the way the pen or the marker would react the on top of the acrylic paint. And so the acrylic paint very much mutes. I used a gray instead of a black. And so I kind of like it and it kind of annoys me. I can't really decide. And because it kind of looks like now the words are kind of hidden within the leaves, which is kind of cool because it says hide the word in your heart and we hide under his wings. And so all that kind of works, I guess. And just to add more dimension, I'm just going in with this really fun new Sharpie that I got. It was from the Sharpie family, but it's a roller Sharpie. So it has a really fine point, and it writes really well over paints. So it's right up there with my Sharpie gel pen that I use a lot as being one of my favorites. I haven't had it very long. I just got it for Christmas. My kids put it in my stocking because I know I like pens. In particular, I like Sharpies for this kind of thing. So I'm just going in and just adding just a little bit of a drop shadow just to make that pop. Because like I said, since I decided to use a gray and then kind of blending in with that silver paint, I felt like it definitely just needed some oomph. So I'm going to spend some time here on my letters. I'm going to go in with this black pen and add those. And then I'm going to go through and add some other things here in just a moment. So I'm going to speed this part up just a little bit because I go through like 3 more layers of colors on my letters. So I'm going to put this in a little bit more fast pace and I'll be back in just a few minutes. Now that I've got a bunch of texture added to my letters and they don't blend into my background quite as much, I wanted to make sure, of course, that I dated it and that I made sure that I highlighted the verse I was using on the other side. But I really felt like I wanted to reiterate my thought process behind this by adding a little bit of journaling. So I just kind of figured out some spacing and some lines, and I just wrote, "In all my failings, he remembers that I am flesh and offers grace." And so I wanted to make sure to put that in there. And then it felt a little weird kind of there by itself. So I'm just going in with that pen and just adding some little marks here and there. I kind of feel like it brings everything together and gives it some cohesiveness and just adds, the background is super, super soft and the words were more harsh in the middle. So I feel like it kind of balanced everything out. And then just adding a little bit more texture and depth to those letters on the title. And so that is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and always just sharing and loving on my stuff. And I pray it inspires you to do cool things. So thanks so much for stopping by, and I will see you guys next time. Have an amazing day.